SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student-athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from Peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes.
Good afternoon. We are back in business here in the Senate State Affairs Committee. We have one bill that we deferred from this morning, Senate Bill 232. We're going to change up the agenda. We'll start with 232, then we'll do 239, 234, 235. So at this time, I'd like to welcome everybody online. Everybody knows the drill about signing in to testify. If you need to distribute, the pages are here. And I think we'll start with calling the roll, and then the pages will need that at some point. So, Secretary, if you'd please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
Good evening.
Jensen.
Here.
Carr. Aye. Kolbeck.
Here.
Larson. Excused. Oh, no,
Larson.
she's here.
Larson's here.
Okay. She's here. Larson's here. Pischke.
Here.
Voigt. Excused. Perry.
Here.
Melhoff.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right. At this time, I don't know if anybody at this early hour has had a chance to review the minutes from this morning's meeting. If somebody has, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll go ahead with that.
Senator Perry has motioned to approve. Second by Larson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Minutes are approved. At this time, I'd like to invite our pages once again to come up. They work in the afternoon session, which doesn't happen very often. So we're going to need good jokes.
Okay, I actually do have a joke today. I'm Ada Ryder. I'm from Henry, South Dakota, and I plan to go to SDSU to major in aviation. And then my joke is, why did the bicycle fall over? Because it was too tired.
Very good. Thank you, Ada. Be sure to talk to Senator Hone about your career.
Hi, my name is Quinn Nielsen. I go to Sioux Valley High School, and I plan to attend SDSU to double major in vocal performance and political science and then go to law school. And my joke is, last night I had a dream I was a muffler. I woke up exhausted.
Oh, that was good.
That was pretty good.
Very good. I thought maybe you'd sing for us since you're going to major in vocal. Okay, so at this time we will get started. We have Senate Bill 232 on the docket, and we will look for proponent and opponent, and it worked very well this morning. It worked mostly well. We're going to go 12 minutes pro, 12 minutes opponent testimony, and we're going to try to get through all four of these bills in a timely fashion. So we haven't started yet. So welcome, Senator
Thank you,
Howard.
thank you. Taffy Howard, District 34. So I am here asking for your support for SB 232, which imposes a one-year, first of all, I'm sorry, I do have an amendment out there. Would you please pass it? 232A.
We have a motion by Perry, second by Pischke, 232A. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now talking about 232A, and I will reset your time.
Thank you. I was going to ask that. So 232A, it imposes a one-year moratorium on the construction or expansion of hyperscale data centers in South Dakota, which is defined as facilities with peak electrical demand of 50 megawatts or greater, and it applies not only to new builds, but also to expansions that would push a facility into hyperscale territory. The moratorium runs through June 30th of 2027. This is simply a pause for planning bill. Hyperscale projects are uniquely high impact. They can drive major grid and transmission upgrades, create land use conflicts, and generate intense public pushback, often because local ordinances and state frameworks were never written for facilities of this scale. We're not alone in recognizing the need for a timeout. Several counties around the country, as well as some states, are looking at these. Meade County, Kentucky adopted a temporary moratorium on accepting and processing applications for IT infrastructure facilities, including data centers, specifically because their zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan didn't adequately address data center development, and they needed time to reevaluate and draft standards. Similarly, another county in Kentucky passed a data center moratorium. Again, it was a deliberate pause to sort out local regulations before more projects move forward. In Michigan, local officials enacted a one-year moratorium on data center development so they could research impacts and potentially adopt regulations driven by concerns that included infrastructure and environmental impacts. And yes, at the state level as well, Georgia lawmakers have introduced bills proposing moratoria or statewide assessment frameworks in response to the surge of data centers and the strain that growth can place on communities and infrastructure. SB 232 is the prudent, orderly approach. It gives South Dakota time to get the rules right. Definitions, siting standards, infrastructure cost responsibility, and enforcement before we lock ourselves into long-term consequences. So I would respectfully ask your support of 232. And I do want to point out that you do have a handout that I would appreciate if you'd take a look at that. And again, I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Howard. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 232 as amended. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sarah Stever, Lennox, South Dakota, District 6. So I would like you to consider that part of the regulations that are going to happen, and we've talked a lot about local control today, do need to happen at the county level. And we do have, I believe, 17 counties that don't even have zoning in South Dakota, if I'm not mistaken. So a moratorium would give our counties time to put their proper local controls in place. So I ask you to pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 232 as amended. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Committee. Thank you. I'm John Coonery, District 11, Sioux Falls, and I also rise in support of this personally. And one of the things that I brought up personally to the City Council has not been addressed, and I have not heard it at the state level also, is that these hyperscale data centers are going to create a tremendous amount of EMF radiation. I have a background 53 years ago when I was in the United States Army. I was a radiologic technologist, and so I understand both ionizing, non-ionizing radiation. I'm also a licensed ham operator, and we have to study these types of things, RF, but also EMF, and what are the limits and what are the effects. We talked about some of those things earlier, but I think it's prudent that we understand this because, as was said earlier, is that this has the potential of having tremendous amount of health impacts, and so we need to understand that. You need to have, whether it's regulations or zoning or what have you, in place before these go forward. And so I respectfully ask that you put this on hold for 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 232 as amended. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Susie Pratt. I come from Sioux Falls. The beginning of my year has started out very hectically. I had just caught wind of the data center being proposed in Sioux Falls, and it had already been approved, its preliminary site plan, and within one day we mobilized and had to put out a petition to take the rezoning of that property to a public vote. That, for 20 days of my life, as well as many other people in this room, consumed my mornings, my evenings, my days, my life, my social life, my family life, my home life. And we were left reeling with no options and no real ordinances in place to deal with this novel industry. So I think that a moratorium gives us time to breathe, time that we desperately need as a community to organize and create ordinances that would allow us to ensure that data centers coming into our community can be a net benefit for our community, and something that we feel comfortable with as a community. So I would just ask you guys to consider this and give us a little bit of breathing room to let the local laws and local ordinances kind of catch up to this new industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on 232 as amended. We're at 6.5 minutes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Erin Taggart, and I am from District 2. I'm here representing myself. I'll keep this short. In Sioux Falls, in January, the City Council rushed the rezoning vote for a data center, and it seemed to take the developer at their word without asking any tough questions or requiring any clear rules, buffers, or enforceable standards. We cannot let that happen statewide. Let's take a year to create some ordinances, look things over, really think things over before we rush things in. That could really affect people's lives for years to come. Please pass 232. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on 232. I don't see anybody in the room moving forward. Oh, I guess I do. Welcome. Please proceed.
Yeah, good
Introduce
afternoon.
yourself again.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Joseph Whiteeyes. I'm a citizen of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, also a member of the National No Data Centers on Indian Lands Coalition. I'm in support of this moratorium, as we are also pushing for this on the tribal side within tribal communities as well. There are just too many risks that many of our elected leaders don't understand in order to make an informed-based decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further proponent testimony on 232? There's somebody online. We're not sure who it is. Is there somebody online to testify as a proponent? If so, I'll allow it. We have a little more time left. Okay. We'll close proponent testimony and move to opponent testimony on Senate Bill 232.
Mr.
Good
Chair.
afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Joe Fiala, Deputy Commissioner for the Governor's Office of Economic Development. It's good to be with you this afternoon. I come before you today in opposition to Senate Bill 232, and really a lot of my comments are going to echo what was discussed this morning. At a high level, a moratorium on data centers is not needed, and it limits opportunities for South Dakota and its citizens. There are already mechanisms in place to control the types of development in local jurisdictions, such as local zoning ordinances, city and county comprehensive plans, and that planning is best done at the local level. Citizens can fully participate in that process. Those meetings are publicly noticed ahead of time, and there's, I think, without exception, time for public comment and input in those meetings. Often there are multiple meetings as you go through that zoning and permitting process. Our electric providers have experienced staff and knowledgeable boards of directors, councils, or commissions. These folks are best positioned to understand whether their systems can support a data center and if there is the capacity to do so. They work hand in hand with the city councils and county commissions throughout that permitting process, so there's a good exchange of information. Some areas of the state have already been preparing for data centers and would welcome the opportunity that they bring. A statewide moratorium would impose restrictions on these areas and keep them from pursuing an opportunity they've decided would be beneficial for their area. In particular, there's some rural areas that have done some of this planning. South Dakotans value the concept of local control. This bill removes that ability for South Dakotans to control their own path in their own communities. A statewide moratorium limits economic opportunity across the entire state. It limits new job growth and career paths. It will inhibit the ability for communities and counties to diversify and stabilize their tax base. I would urge you to vote no on SB 232, and I will stand by for questions.
Thank you. Further opponent testimony on 232. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Bockerney, CEO of the Economic Development Professionals Association of South Dakota, otherwise known as the EDPA. We rise in opposition to this bill. I want to talk, I feel like kind of like a broken record today, but I'm going to mention two important words, local control. Local control is vitally important, and I want to echo Deputy Commissioner Fiala's comments. Locals should be able to make these decisions. If you want one, it should be your decision. If you don't, that is also your decision, and you can regulate that at the local level. I also want to talk about, real briefly here, a couple of comments that have been made this morning, but were also just mentioned again. It's been mentioned that this industry is brand new. I'm going to tell you this industry is not brand new. It's actually been around since the mid-1940s. It's not new. The concept of hyperscaling might be new, but this is not a new industry. We actually have multiple data centers in South Dakota right now. No one ever talks about or mentions this. Do you know why? Because when you drive by them, you don't even know they're there, because they cause no issues. It's just a building. Nobody knows what's inside of it, and we're all using it all the time, every day. And they've been around for a long time. I also want to, it was referenced earlier about the data center in Sioux Falls being rushed. That data center has already been through 6 hearings. At the first 5, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. Everybody decided to show up at the last one. I'll also tell you we've got zoning. Many counties have adopted zoning. If a county hasn't adopted zoning, they can do that locally. For some reason, for the entire existence that county's been in, or for the entire time that county has been in existence, for whatever reason, that county has chosen not to adopt zoning regulations. They can if they want. But again, we don't force them at the state level to do that. The importance here is local control. For those reasons, we ask you to please defeat this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Further opponent testimony on 232. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Brett Kennecke, a lawyer from Custer, registered lobbyist for the investor-owned utilities, South Dakota Electric Utility Companies. I'm going to keep my remarks to the bill. Currently, municipalities and counties can both enact moratorium in South Dakota. Under current law, I will submit to you it's hard to find. I could barely find it myself, and I kind of had an idea that was there. But in 11.2.10 of our code, a county can put a moratorium in place, and under 11.4.3.1, a city can already put a moratorium in place. I would submit to you that the bill in front of you is just simply not necessary. Any of the local units can go ahead and do what the bill proposes on their own by themselves, local control, and I see no need at all for the state to step in and enforce that upon them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennecke. Further opponent testimony on 232.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Del Bianco with NetChoice, which is the trade association for the major hyperscalers in the United States. Previous testimony is why it was unnecessary, given that counties have the ability. A second reason the moratorium bill is unnecessary is that South Dakota's had a moratorium effectively for at least the last 6 years. That is when I first came out here, met with the administration and GED about having South Dakota get in the game for data centers, and was told the same thing we heard this morning. South Dakota's got a lot going for it. It doesn't have an income tax. It has lower priced electricity. GED has an RPP program. And our members evaluated all that and found it to be uncompetitive, uneconomical compared to surrounding states. And therefore, you haven't had a single large data center in the state of South Dakota. Nobody even comes here to kick the tires from the large hyperscale companies. Now, you have to ask yourself, what did I do next? Well, I spent the next 6 years going to all the surrounding states around South Dakota and enacted sales tax exemptions. And in those 6 years, Americans used more and more of the applications on your phones. Even before AI was even discussed, those applications have required my industry, because of all your videos, your photos, your messages, your streaming, the applications on Amazon cloud services. All of that has required us to build about $1 billion data center every single week on average, and none of them have been built here. So a previous speaker talked about all the apps on your phones that you're using data centers. You are, but none of them are in South Dakota, none of them. Now, the moratorium's in place effectively because the state has decided it doesn't want to exempt the sales tax on servers, and I understand that. But at the local level, the communities have the ability to evaluate whether they want it. There are cities that may not find it appropriate at all to have a data center, but there are rural areas that are eager to have the opportunity to do so. So, Mr. Chairman, I do advise you against 232. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further opponent testimony on 232.
Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Gross, resident of District 24, chair of the Sully County Planning and Zoning. I'd like to start off by saying I don't necessarily oppose moratoriums as a whole. They can be a very useful tool. I just do think they're more effectively used at the county level. We've used them in the past to draft wind ordinances, things like that. But for us, we have an operational Bitcoin mine in Sully County. It's afforded us to do a lot of things. We've lowered tax levies to bring property tax relief to citizens, things like that. We got out ahead of this. We got ordinances drafted. I'm not saying that every county, should have been doing that, but I just don't think this is a blanket approach is not the way to handle this. If a county needs time, by all means, they should, try and pass a moratorium, things like that. A few other things that I would see this bill possibly causing harm to. I don't know if everyone's aware, but we in South Dakota share a generator in Basin Electric with Wyoming and North Dakota. The area is a little more nuanced than that, but if we're the only state that puts this moratorium on for a year, and North Dakota and Wyoming are ushering these things in left and right, there's a chance that our grid could become saturated with data centers without South Dakota getting any of the tax revenue that comes along with those. It would literally be possible for us to not take in any of the tax revenue and still run out of power. I think that's something that you should really think long and hard about. If the power is all coming from the same place, the tax benefits don't necessarily get distributed that way. Anything else? A couple of misconceptions as far as the water use. And again, maybe I should just let you guys ask me questions about the operational one later to preserve some more opponent time. But I will say that we've had it operational. We had a couple of people coming in raising concerns about phase 2, noise levels, things like that. We took decibel readings between 34 to 38. These guys have done a heck of a job trying to follow our ordinances. I'm not saying they all would, but there's a place for these, and there's a place for moratoriums. I just don't think it's a place for one statewide right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We're at 10 minutes. We got 2 minutes left.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Phillips from Applied Digital. Good to see you all again after lunch. There is effectively a moratorium now. As evidenced by none of us being here, none of us building in this state. Applied Digital in the last 1 year has chosen to build 3 new facilities in other states. Those customers were actually destined for South Dakota. Yes.
We've actually heard that testimony already. If you have something new,
no problem.
Great to hear
it. So to kind of go back onto the power component just briefly here. A 1-year moratorium, there is power today. We've worked with Dual County for more than the last year. They have indicated to us, and they've come to testify, their chairman of their county commission came to testify, and we've been working closely with them on the local issue. I don't think there's a lack of time for the locals who have control now to spend time to work through those issues. We've seen in past counties and cities within a mere number of weeks that ordinances can be pulled together. Beyond that, with the power, if there is a 1-year break from this, today, right now in Dual County, there is available power for us to build a facility. If we take a 1-year break from that, that power may not be available, and likely we could use it in North Dakota, as we are currently using power that's being produced in South Dakota in North Dakota, and South Dakota is not benefiting from it.
Thank you, sir. Got very little time left, so please be brief or give a me too. Thank you.
Aaron Scheibe, Clean Grid Alliance. This is a local issue locals can control, and I would just say a quick me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scheibe.
Mr. Chair, thank you for having me. Kyle Peters, representing Gemini Family Office. I would just do a quick me too and also add in that Gemini purchased this land from Xcel Energy back in December of 2024. If at any point in time the city of Sioux Falls didn't feel like they were comfortable moving forward with the zoning process or having utility discussions, they could have imposed a moratorium at any time. But we have a good working relationship with Sioux Falls, and we hope that it can stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair. TJ Nelson, Big Watt Digital. I want to thank Austin. We operate in Sully County, so we're 30 megawatt right now. We'd love to be at 300. Sully County, they are a willing partner and a great partner of ours. We've invested a lot in a potential expansion, and this moratorium would effectively stop that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. At this time, we've exhausted time for opponent testimony. You can do a me too if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mitch Ray of Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. Just want to be on the record as opposed and echo the comments of previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, we'll close opponent testimony and go to rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Taffy Howard, District 34. Just want to remind everyone, we have no hyperscale data centers in the state right now. The data center in Sully is not hyperscale. So this does not cover any data centers along those lines. We had none of those until the one in Sioux Falls was just approved. So no one is pushing back on your local hospital, your bank, whoever has these smaller data centers. This is not what this bill is about. The point about, apparently I get the impression that as legislators, we should just all go home. We have no job here. Why are we even here? So we have a role to watch, to do things for the citizens of this state. The citizens are asking for this. You will notice, again, just like this morning, the opponents are all the lobbyists, the multinational, probably billion-dollar corporations, I don't know, or government elected officials. The proponents are the people. They are asking for this. Are you going to listen to the people or the paid lobbyists? These hyperscale data centers are massive, okay? This is 50 megawatts. That's enough electricity to power 50,000 homes, okay? I don't know that anyone in our state is prepared for that. I don't believe Sioux Falls is prepared for that based on what we heard this morning. They don't know. Are they going to have to truck water in? So there are water issues, there's noise issues, there are setback issues. This is not the same kind of data center that is already in Sully County. This is not the other smaller data centers that we have. These are hyperscale data centers. This doesn't limit anything other than rushing into these. It's limiting the ability of entities to rush into this without knowing what we should be doing, what guardrails should we put up around these. So I hope you will consider the testimony that you heard today and hear that the people are asking for this. I wouldn't have brought this bill if it weren't for the citizens asking for this. And I think it's a wise thing to do before we rush into these massive, massive agreements with these data centers. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Howard. This time we will go to committee questions. Senator Perry.
Sponsor of the bill. Why did you choose 1 year? Some people have said 5 years, some people say 6 months, some say we shouldn't have one, but why did you choose 1 year?
Mr. Chair, thank you. 5 years, 1 year to me and to everyone I talk to is enough time. 1 year from now, we would have one more session. So if there's something that we need to do at the state level, we would have that opportunity. And then that allows municipalities and counties as well time to have the meetings that they need, engage with the public, and move forward. So, yeah.
Further questions from the committee? Senator Jensen.
Yep, thank you for the sponsor. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that hasn't read the bill. Is this a moratorium on planning or a moratorium on beginning construction or applications or all of the above?
Mr. Chair. It's a moratorium on the construction or expansion of existing data centers. So no new hyperscale data centers or expansion into that hyperscale category.
Further questions? Seeing none, we'll close questions. Oh, do you have another one?
From electrical standpoint, Mr. Barnett, I know that you didn't testify, but could I ask you a question? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Barnett is Mr. Electricity, and the question is, are we able to facilitate data centers, and do you see any problems, or do you see this as an opportunity?
Mr. Chair, Senator Perry, Steve Barnett with STREA. We have an obligation to serve our members, so if there was a need to serve, we would do that.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Would you be sure to sign in since you testified if you'd go back? I appreciate that. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll close questions and go to committee discussion and/or action. Senator Larson.
I'm going to make a motion for this to go to the 41st day.
We have a motion by Senator Larson, second by Senator Colbeck, 41st day. Comments on the motion?
I appreciate the intent behind this, and I do think there needs to be more public scrutiny of this, but I do think that at the end of the day, it is a local control issue and that we shouldn't, here at the state level, prohibit what different smaller municipalities can do.
Any further comments? Senator Dibert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, as a recovering county commissioner, I've seen moratoriums put in by counties and cities in the western part of South Dakota, and they've been very effective with them, and I think they know how to do it, so I'll leave it up to them, and I won't get into their lane.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Perry. Senator Perry, then Jensen.
I think that the former speaker, the senator, hit it pretty close where we can have our cities and counties enact different things to slow things down if they need to, but I don't know whether we should be doing this as a statewide ban or a statewide moratorium, or if we should be allowing it to be totally local control, but I believe that local control is something that I've always advocated for.
Senator Jensen.
Substitute motion. Do pass on Senate Bill 232.
We have a substitute motion. Senator Jensen. Second from Senator Carr. Comments on that motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We've heard over and over and over and over local control. I can see local control on the actual construction site. But the aquifers and the electric, I mean, if we have, I'll just pick my own county. Let's say one comes up in Lincoln County and rural electric has to supply the power. If the power is supplied in that area into multiple counties, it's not just a little piece of the county that has control over that power and allowing all that power to be used. The same thing's true with the aquifers. Our aquifers spread into multiple states, multiple counties, and we're pulling water out because one county wants to do this. We're pulling water out that's effectively could affect the wells in dozens of other towns. So no, this is a statewide issue because the aquifers are statewide and power goes in multiple counties. So I do believe the state has a role in this. And when we talk about local control, then yeah, if you want to build a building, that can be local, the setbacks. But when we're talking about all the utilities and the substructure with the water, I do think it is our place to be involved in this. So that's the reason for the motion.
Further comments on the motion? Substitute motion is due passed by Senator Jensen, second by Senator Carr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
No.
Jensen.
Aye.
Carr. Colbeck.
No.
Larson. Pischke. Voigt. Excused. Perry.
No.
Milhoff.
No.
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 ayes, 5 nays, 1 excused.
Substitute motion having failed to receive a majority of the vote is hereby lost. So we're back to the original motion, which was 41st day by Senator Larson, second by Senator Colbeck. If there's no more comments on the motion, I will ask the secretary to please call the roll. 41st day.
Senator Dybert.
Aye.
Jensen.
No.
Carr. Colbeck. Larson. Pischke. Voigt excused. Perry.
No.
Milhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 ayes, 4 nays, 1 excused.
So we have a 4-4 tie. The motion fails. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which I think we had 239. So we will. Okay, I'm going to revert to a previous order of business on Senate Bill 232. I'm going to ask for another motion.
Motion to move to this to the 41st day.
We have a motion 41st day. I'll second that motion to the 41st day.
Point of order.
Yes.
That motion's already been made, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I guess we will wait until we have another senator available.
Could I make a motion to table?
That would be in order. Yes.
I'll motion to table.
We have a motion to table. Is there a second on that? Motion by Larson, second by Colbeck to table Senate Bill 232. Comments on the motion? No, there is no, that's non-debatable. Thank you, everybody, for reminding me of that. I'll ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
Aye.
Jensen.
No.
Carr. Colbeck. Larson. Pischke. Voigt excused. Perry.
Aye.
Milhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 ayes, 3 nays, 1 excused.
Okay, the motion to table Senate Bill 232 has received a majority of the votes and is hereby passed. So hopefully they've had some time to retrieve Senator Crabtree so we can take up our next order of business, which is Senate Bill 239, which is to modify provisions related. I got to put my glasses on. Modify provisions relating to the reinvestment payment program and relating to the purchasing of goods and services used by projects approved for the reinvestment payment program. For that, we have proponent testimony. We are limiting proponent and opponent to 12 minutes. And we will begin. Welcome, Senator Crabtree.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate you putting in overtime. They're doing the same over in tax where I just came from. I would like to see if I could get a motion to amend to Senate to 239B as in boy.
Mr. Chairman, I would move Amendment 239, Bravo.
We have a motion by Senator Dibert, second by Perry to amend. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. The bill is amended. Please
Thank you, Mr.
proceed.
Chair and members of the committee. I'll go into this quickly as there's a number of folks who want to talk as well. So let's talk about this. This is the enhancement to the existing reinvestment payment program, a program that has been successful for over 10 years. But to compete for jobs versus other states and other countries, we must have an avenue that provides certainty. The national agenda is pushing towards more reshoring of all industries from value-added agriculture, energy production, and American manufacturing. In South Dakota, I've seen all of you applaud for Governor Noem when she made remarks to make cybersecurity our next biggest industry, and I've also seen all of you applaud Governor Roden's remarks to make national security a cornerstone of our economy at this year's address. To make that a reality, we need to pass Senate Bill 239 as amended. Another point on this is each project stands on its own merit. What do I mean by that? If it doesn't meet an extremely high bar of criteria, it doesn't qualify. There's no blank checks and there's no guarantees. The governor, GOED, and the Board of Economic Development engage with local stakeholders and the industry as they consider their application. It's carefully evaluated to make sure it creates a significant ROI and great jobs. It must work for the community, as this looks different between Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Pierre, or in the Black Hills. This is not a blank check. The bar is set high, and the positive impact must be felt locally before these are approved. It's extremely important to remember that this program applies to those businesses that are here today, as well as those who want to come here and be part of our economy. And the third point I'll make, and the most important, is this is about more jobs and better pay. This enhancement to an existing program equals more money back in the pockets of hardworking South Dakotans. This program requires the jobs meet pay and benefit standards. The top line and the bottom line is that this will lead to more jobs, better pay, and greater opportunities for this generation and the next to call South Dakota home. With that, I'll stand by for further questions.
Thank you, Senator Crabtree. Further proponent testimony on 239. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Bockerney, CEO of the Economic Development Professionals Association of South Dakota. We rise in favor of this bill. This bill updates and modernizes the reinvestment payment program, including how goods and services used by qualified projects are treated in the reinvestment payment calculation. This bill reflects stakeholder feedback and technical refinements intended to keep our state of South Dakota's viability as we are a great state to do business in, while maintaining fiscal accountability. Senator Crabtree already touched on the key elements of the bill, so we'll just me too those sections. But I would, or his comments, I would like to point out that South Dakota is competing nationally for major investment projects in all kinds of different industries. A predictable and well-structured reinvestment payment program is an essential tool. As mentioned earlier, we want to be a leader in cybersecurity. We want to be a leader in national defense. To do so, we need to be competitive versus other states. Let's all keep something in mind. While this certainly would apply to data centers, it also applies to other industries that are the backbone of the South Dakota economy, such as advanced manufacturing, food processing, agricultural processing, energy generation, grid infrastructure, biotechnology, biomanufacturing, large-scale logistics, distribution, semiconductor fabrication, advanced materials fabrication, flour milling, corn milling, soybean processing, sunflower processing, corn crushing, and corn oil manufacturing, just to name a few. One of the greatest benefits of this bill is that it uses an existing program, the RPP, which has been successfully used numerous times through the years. This program has multiple levels of scrutiny, included where documentation, the documentation has to be verified multiple times, including by GOED, the Board of Economic Development, oftentimes the Department of Revenue and BFM weigh in. The best part of it all, local control weighs in as well. I have never seen an RPP application even come forward let alone get approved, if the local community where the project is located or is locating is not supporting the project. This program works very well, and I have personally been involved in projects that have used this program. It is simply great. In fact, this morning, our good friend Senator Carr actually spoke to this program, and I actually got the sense that he likes it. This bill balances competitiveness with accountability. We ask for your support.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 239. We're at about 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Del Bianco with NetChoice, and I'll just speak to the numbers. In the past 36 hours, was able to look at an early draft of the RPP amendments in 239 and prepared a model, which I've just passed around, a model and a chart. And I would be happy to entertain questions on it, but it really makes the point that both the state and the local benefit from attracting a potential data center under RPP. And I do think RPP would at least make South Dakota in the game, make South Dakota sufficiently competitive that perhaps all the other advantages of being here, Senator Carr, would be supported by an RPP program.
Please
data
keep
centers
your comments to the chair.
That's right. Sorry about that. Even compliments go through the chair. Is that right, sir? Okay. Thank you. The numbers here try to indicate, I mean, you made the, who did you quote this morning? A famous musician, right? Who said nothing from nothing gets nothing. Well, this is what something provides. If you are able to attract a data center of a $4 billion size using the LRC basic assumptions, it generates, as you can see, $165 million in state taxes over 10 years. And that's a sales tax on electricity. It's also property, that's also at the local level, we have the property taxes, but it's sales tax on electricity along with contractors' excise tax. At the local level, $347 million. $347 million that the locals will undoubtedly use for some combination of tax relief for taxpayers that are being hammered today on property tax, as well as in new infrastructure, schools, and services and spending. So this makes it clear, and I'm happy to back up any of the numbers on the flip side of the chart if you have questions. But this is the benefit you get, not taxpayer costs, not a subsidy, but new incremental dollars for you to use. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 239. We are at 7 minutes right now, so we got about 5 minutes to play with.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. My name is Steve Willard. I'm the Executive Director of the South Dakota Electric Utility Companies. And we're very supportive of the changes that are made in 239. We've been participants in the large projects going back for a long ways, and credit to the Department of Revenue and for GOED for coming to changes to the program, regardless of the recipient, that exponentially improve the administration of this program, that makes it easier to define. It lets everyone keep their money up front. It lets it easier to track. It takes rid of all the drag that comes along with the Department of Revenue on the back end. The electric utilities, Black Hills Energy is building a gas plant, Rapid City. Northwestern Energy is building a gas plant in Aberdeen. The gas plant in Aberdeen is $140 million. So the reason that we're involved with these is you can't really touch anything of that size without expanding beyond the $20 million cap. So I'm a data center fan, but there'll be applications for this beyond data centers. And for those, we would encourage you to pass the bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony, Senate Bill 239.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Phillips from Applied Digital. For the record, I will keep it very short. This is a massive improvement to the current RPP program, and we're supportive of this.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 239. Welcome. You move a lot faster than the old guy.
Thank you very much.
Every day.
Not nearly as funny or as intelligent, but I am faster. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ryan Budmeyer, President and CEO of the South Dakota Chamber. We rise in support of Senate Bill 239. I'm new to this role, as you guys know, so I've gone through the archives at the State Chamber, which has been a lot of fun. And one of the most fun parts of that is seeing what happened in the 80s and the 90s, that I think some of the decisions that were made to create the economy that I grew up in South Dakota. And I think that this compromise, this piece of legislation, opens the door, creates the opportunity for projects and for economic development opportunities that will help rural communities, help the state of South Dakota as a whole, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony. We're about 9.5 minutes in. Welcome back.
Aaron Scheibe, Clean Grid Alliance. We would rise in support of Senate Bill 239, urge you to adopt it. Many of our members, as they're making capital investment decisions, are looking for long-term certainty over the life cycle of a project. What you have before you today addresses those concerns. It's a huge improvement on the existing program, and we would urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scheibe. Further proponent testimony on 239 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bill Van Camp. I'm a lobbyist with the South Dakota retailers, and I didn't get to speak this morning to the impact that the Ellendale project has had on the city of Aberdeen and sales tax revenue, and who benefits from that directly as a business. It's our members. It's our bars. It's our restaurants. It's our hotels. It's our gas stations. Please pass this bill. We need to keep economic development viable in South Dakota, and we need to keep attracting these types of projects to our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Camp. Further proponent testimony.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mitch Ray with the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. We too rise in support of the Senate Bill 239, I think it is today. This is just using what we have in the toolbox already and sharpening those tools even more. I think this is a great approach to this issue, and look forward to further discussions on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rave. Is there any other further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 239 as amended? Seeing none, we will close. There's nobody online, is there? Nobody online. We will close proponent testimony and go to opponent testimony on Senate Bill 239 as amended. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Good afternoon. Sarah Stever from Lennox. I did not plan to testify against this because I actually am not an anti-data center person, although my guess is you've probably gotten the impression that I am. I just want to make sure that they're in the right place at the right time, and that the communities, I believe it was Nick Phillips who said, we only want to be in places where we're welcomed. And I think that's what we all want. We want these massive buildings and massive energy uses to be in places where they're welcome. I have all the faith in the world that our utility companies will be able to step up. You know, at some point, the data center demand will outpace our ability to create new transmission and generation infrastructure, just depending on the pace of how many data centers come online. So I think that's a real factor, but one of the things we've been really blessed with in South Dakota is the fact that we have reliable energy. You know, we're really very blessed because reliable energy equals wealth in our state, and I think we can all agree on that. So I am not anti-data center. I just want to have them be in the right place. So the bill feels like we have none of the protections for any of our citizens, but we've got the tax breaks that the data center developers are looking for. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. There's a lot of uncertainty. These are massive projects. They're billions of dollars. They have to mitigate risk. Completely makes sense to me. But once you give tax breaks, in some ways you're pulling your taxpayers in to become the risk managers with you. Like, what are the opportunity costs where other businesses may have stepped up? For example, the list that, and I'm sorry, I don't remember which gentleman gave, all the ag processing things, those also take a ton of energy as well. Will we miss out on other opportunities because we invest all of our energy in 1 or 2 or 3 data centers? So that's my concern with this bill. There's no electricity cost protections, no water consumption requirement protections, no local regulatory authority protection, no ongoing oversight, no public transparency. It's just automatically in, and we're off and running. And it just feels like some of the other bills that we've had today have actually protected citizens and protected our utilities. This does not feel like one of them. So I hope you'll oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seaver. Further opponent testimony on Senate Bill 239.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Committee. My name is John Coonery, District 11 in Sioux Falls. I'm speaking about this because I hear over and over economic development in regards to these hyperscale data centers. We've heard this over and over and over again. I understand that the short-term construction, for several years or whatever, there's economic development. But beyond that, the reason that I speak of this is I can speak it from a construction standpoint. I was a trained carpenter, and I worked for that for 7 years. I went back to school, and I became a software engineer. I worked for 2 national companies, large companies that you would recognize. And even in legacy data centers before hyperscale, there were very few people. I probably knew 2 people in 31 years I was a software engineer that had anything to do with the data centers. And AI data centers are all about automation of virtually everything. So economic development will not create new jobs with these. And I'm just afraid that putting all this extra money into these is taking away from other things that could potentially have a much better impact upon real economic development. And you don't have to take my word for it that what I'm saying is true. I think that some of you have read what Microsoft's CEO of AI recently has said. This is his words, not mine. In 12 to 18 months, not years, months, he says white-collar jobs will be replaced by AI. Now, is that guarantee it's going to happen? No, we don't know that. But that is their goal, is to replace high-paying jobs with AI. And I was white-collar. Probably a lot of people that you know are, And so I just want to make sure that we're not conflating these big projects with a lot of money that goes into it. Very few people will be employed by hyperscale AI data centers. And I'll leave it at that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Further opponent testimony on Senate Bill 239 as amended.
Hi, Susie Pratt,
Hello.
Sioux Falls. I would like to talk about how earlier we had heard a lot of testimony about picking winners and losers, and oddly, that's not something I hear being discussed for this. I also think that a lot of the jobs are kind of connected to the broken window fallacy. However, I would just like to give a Me Too.
Thank you. Further opponent testimony on Senate Bill 239. Seeing none in the room, is there any online? We have nobody online, so we will go to rebuttal. Senator Crabtree.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to come back up and address a few of those comments that were made, and a couple of things I just kind of want to pull back into kind of perspective for the group. As you know, I'm a sports guy, so I like to use the phrase, keep your eye on the ball. And so we're going to pull ourselves right back to where we're at here. Couple things. The first person mentioned local control. This does not come anywhere near local control. Local control is all of that remains. Everything is still decided back at home. Those things stay there as they are. Okay, I would remind this group that this program has existed for over 10 years. We're just simply changing and enhancing it so that we can negotiate these for a changing world a little bit longer. A couple other things. There was concerns about protections related to data centers. Again, this isn't data center specific. This is for every project that is a large project that makes a difference in those communities. Protections are in other bills. I think the good senator to my left brought one earlier. You're going to hear about one in just a minute from me as well. And so we're going to make sure that there's protections when they do come to data centers. That's not this bill, though. This bill is about all of the above. The other thing that I think we should talk about just a little bit more is, it's not a blank check. Okay, nothing happens here just automatically. These are applied for. They have to meet this high criteria. Those discussions happen with the local stakeholders, and then it's decided if they can go forward from these opportunities. Lastly, there was commented about jobs. What are some of the jobs that are approved here and there? Again, this is about all industries that are there. If there aren't jobs and there aren't real benefits, these things don't get approved. That's just the facts. That's how these things work. And I've been around economic development for over a decade, and I haven't seen one of these things have a pushback from local areas. Not one. And lastly, there was a discussion about AI. And I tell you what, this bill doesn't change what's happening in the world of AI. In fact, there's nothing that this committee or this body can do to change what the world is doing with that technology. That technology is working its way through. And so what we can do today, though, is come back to what this does. This provides jobs. This provides an avenue to negotiate those out. Worked closely with GOED, who's in the room here, to develop this and put this in front of you today. And so with that, I'll stand by for further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Crabtree. Questions from the committee? Senator Jensen.
Yes, for Senator Crabtree. And just for the benefit of the people in the room that don't know what the term means, this bill was hog-housed. It totally replaces the original bill and the original bill's intent. It's basically a brand-new bill. It's not Senate Bill 239 that was originally proposed. My question hopefully is a yes or no. I've seen the shotgun approach this session in many bills to try and eliminate the sales tax and of equipment for these data centers. In the original bill, it was very approved. Upon approval by GOED, an affidavit submitted under this section by data center, the gross receipts from any purchases made by the data center are exempt from provisions of basically sales tax exemption. In this bill, I see way down near the bottom, the board may approve a reinvestment payment that is equal to or less than South Dakota sales tax on the project cost. So the real simple question, does this bill exempt them from sales tax?
Does this bill exempt from sales tax? Let me answer that entirely. This bill, if you go through the application, the process that exists today, and that's negotiated out back and forth with this governor's office or the next, any of those projects, including agriculture, would be exempt from sales tax at the state level. Now, I would go back and also add a little color to your comment about the hog house or the amendment to it. I'll tell you why these were amended. There's 3 bills. You'll see amendments on all 3. And really that's driven by the deadlines that were going on and the discussions we were having. The discussions we were having not only as a legislative body, but the discussions back and forth with the Governor's Office of Economic Development on ways that we could strengthen our economy and provide more good paying jobs here in South Dakota. And so that's where this comes from.
Further questions? Senator Colbeck.
Yep, this would be for GOED. Commissioner Fiala.
Mr. Fiala, if you're not signed in yet, I'd appreciate it if you would when you're done here.
Mr. Chair, Joe Fiala, Deputy Commissioner, Governor's Office of Economic Development.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes. Can I have a little? I got a couple of them. Is that right? So first of all, the way I'm reading the bill, they're going to construct something. First of all, they're going to come to you. They have to come to you first, and then the board is going to approve by a 2/3 majority if they get anything back. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair? Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is that the current policy? Is 2/3 the current policy?
Mr. Chair, for projects that are over $1 million, whether like a loan for $1 million, the board does have to approve that by a 2/3 majority.
Okay, thank you. And then they have to, once they get that, you approve that, they spend the money, it goes around the horn and comes back to them. They have to reinvest that. They can't just walk away with that money. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
I probably didn't do that very well. So if they build something and you've already said that that will qualify, like a server, and then they get that permit to come back, that permit, when you give it back, do they have to spend that on another server, or is that just because it's a reinvestment program? That's my question.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll take a stab at answering your question here. So in general, with the reinvestment payment program, the project they have to define what their project is. And that's with a lot of discussion with our staff and that company. Once that project is defined, then the board reviews their application and approves it or not. If it is approved, they have to do what they told us. And then at the end, they have to sign an affidavit and say, we did what we said, come look. We double check it, and if that is the case and they've done what they said, then the reinvestment payment is issued to the company.
Am I still okay? So does GOED administer, it's total GOED administered program?
Mr.
This
Chair.
program.
Yes, we do work in partnership with the Department of Revenue, but it's administered by GOED.
Are the meetings open? Are they open meetings?
Mr. Chair. Yes, the Board of Economic Development meetings are public meetings. They are noticed ahead of time with the agenda. The discussion takes place. The confidential information that a company provides GOED that might be like their financial information or their personal financial information and the review of the project, that's held in executive session. But all of the action takes place in public session so that everybody can see it.
Thank you.
Further question from the committee, Senator Dybert.
You might as well stay put. Mr. Fiala, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple. So it appears to me that you had, your department had quite a bit of input or a part of this bill. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair. Yes, we did provide feedback and input on this to try to make sure that it was going to work.
I'll follow up. So you do support this?
Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Senator Dybert. We think this is the best path forward of all of the ideas that have kind of been put forward. This is the right path for kind of an all-of-the-above approach on large projects.
One final question, if I may. So since you were engaged with this, we don't see any additional FTEs or any costs for your agency?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, there's no additional cost. This will be easily administered with our existing staff.
Further questions from the committee, Senator Carr.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I feel like Darth Vader. Okay, it worked. Like that Volvo commercial. Del Bianco, Mr. Del Bianco. I hope I said that right. Net choice. You gave me a handout. I like numbers and things. But just walk me through some of the assumptions. Let's just focus on this bar graph and what's happening here. And I want you to touch on, is this including the dollars that are you're saying you're paying these dollars, but is this net of what's going to be sent back through this contract and this RPP program?
Mr. Chairman? Thank you, Senator Carr. And the numbers on the back are the basis of the chart. And you'll see in red on the back, I have two lines of state sales tax that is in RPP. Do you see them up near the top? The state sales tax during construction on construction materials and on IT equipment. And that's $400 million over 10 years. That amount is not paid under the RPP. It's not paid and refunded. It's just not paid. And if the board votes by 2/3, that is waived. So the answer to your question is yes, all the ins and outs are netted here. And then money that's shown on the flip side is all money that accrues to the state in blue, net of everything. And in red is the net payment to the local government.
Follow up?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And so just tell me what's included, I guess, with the blue and the red. What all taxes are you talking about? Is the local taxes, that including the property taxes? Can you just give us a little breakout there?
Mr. Chairman? Yeah. Great. So there, again, if you go on the flip side, and it's awfully small for my old eyes, but the green are all the taxes. And you can see that at the state level and at the local level, they collect the electricity tax, 4.20. It's right in the center. So electricity taxes are there, the local sales tax on equipment, the local sales tax, so the three green bars. And then you go below that, and I add it all up to give you total state tax and a cumulative. Then I bring in the property tax, local only, local property tax based on a $500 million valuation, which Dual County had provided as an estimate for a $4 billion data center. And then contractor's excise tax, which is only about $22 million that goes to the state. So all those numbers then are added up in the last two blocks at the bottom where it says cumulative total state tax and cumulative total local tax. And be happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
I'd like to ask some questions, if that's okay.
Senator Pischke.
Thank you, Mr.
You
Chairman.
have the floor to ask a question.
I was asked Commissioner Viola, I don't know if we're, what?
Fiala.
Fiala, to come back up.
Welcome, Mr.
I apologize. Okay, I need you to explain this to me. We had a side conversation earlier, and I appreciate that. I'm intrigued by this, and I guess I need you to explain to me how this would work a little bit more, not in politician talk, but more just like we're having a beer at Red Rosa, which sounds really good right now. But nevertheless, okay, break this down for me. How would this work? I guess just in layman terms.
Mr. Chair. Joe Fiala, Deputy Commissioner for the Governor's Office of Economic Development. I'll try to break it down like we're having a beer. The existing RPP program, it just makes some modifications to that program for large projects. So the project would contact GOED, and we would visit with them, and it's a significant conversation. It takes a while to understand what the project is, what are the boundaries on it, what are they wanting to do, what are they going to spend, what's it for. Once we understand that, we ask them to apply to the program. We receive their application, and then we do our due diligence. And then in this case, it's going to have to satisfy some pretty high marks on the size of the project. It's got to be a very large project, which will be defined by the Board of Economic Development. And then the staff will review that application, understand its economic impact for that project. We'll make a recommendation to the Board of Economic Development. They will review the application and approve it or not. And then the company then in this particular track with these large projects, it would allow us to do up to a 30-year agreement with that company so that they would have certainty over that time frame. And then we would work with them just like we do any other company with RPP to track it and make it happen.
Follow up, if I may. Okay, so, and in those agreements, I think what we're getting at here is that the sales tax would basically get refunded then to potentially, right? It depends on the contract or depends on the project, but the sales tax would then get refunded with a certainty based on what we're talking about, with a certainty that the sales tax would get refunded to that project. Is that a correct assumption?
Mr. Chair. So in this particular case, with these large projects, we're going to do an analysis of the sales tax that they would pay. We would track that, and at the end of the project, we would have the ability to say, hey, look, you've done what you've said. That sales tax that you were going to pay, you do not have to pay it at the end of the project.
Follow up? Okay, so at the end of the project, like the end of building the project or the end of the 30 years?
Mr. Chair, it would be at the end of the agreement, whatever the agreement is. You know, some projects might not need 30 years. Some might need 5. Some might need 10. So each one is going to be a kind of a unique situation, which it is currently today. We take these one at a time. The projects are based on the merit of the project. And so it might be at the end of that project, which could be 5, 10, or more.
Follow up? Okay, so let's say for hypothetical, we have a 30-year project or a 30-year contract. Is that business hypothetically remitting sales tax to the state for 30 years and then waiting for that 30 years to get that money back?
Mr. Chair, in this case, they would not be remitting. We would be tracking it carefully with the Department of Revenue. And if they do not do what they said, then the Department of Revenue could say to that project, look, you didn't do what you said, you owe the sales tax.
One more follow-up? I think I'm tracking with all that stuff. Getting back to the board is entirely appointed by the governor, correct?
Mr. Chair, the voting members of the board are appointed by the governor. There are 4 ex officio members that are appointed by the legislature.
Thank you. Same, if it's all right, GOED. I thank you for that. And I'm looking at the updated version, and I just want to make sure that we're looking at all the same things. Line 33 on page 3, and it goes through line 3 on page 4. And following its review pursuant to 116G 59, the board may by 2/3 majority approve a combined reinvestment payment that is equal to or less than the South Dakota sales tax and use tax in the initial project cost of a new, this is not going to be taking that long, new expanded facility, as well as the project cost of any future equipment upgrades that for the same facility for a term not to exceed 30 years after the construction dates. And that's my big thing was, I know that we have heard over 50 years, North Dakota's at 35 years. Our maximum is 30 years. Is that a safe assumption, or is that what it says?
Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Senator Perry. Yeah, the maximum that the board can approve is a 30-year agreement on this. And they do have the flexibility to do any percentage. It could be 25% of the sales tax. It could be 50% or more.
Okay. Mr. Chair. Yes. Just to follow up, and that would be, and they could do a percentage of the sales tax. If we had 4.2, they could go 2, but they could also go for 5 years, 15 years, up to 30 years. Is that correct? You could do different years. You could have a contract that was at 2% for 10 years.
Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct, Senator Perry. They can be different for each project.
That gives me a high comfort level. Thank you.
Senator Carr.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Phillips, please. Okay. If I understand this bill correctly, and I think what was described in this handout, this would potentially address the 4.2%, the state sales tax, but it'd still be paying the local sales tax of 2% on the software and equipment. And I guess my question is, one, is your intention to then go to that local governing body, I guess, and ask for the exemption on the 2% as well, or the local sales tax?
Mr. Chairman, Nick Phillips for the record. In our case, for the proposed project, we're not in the city, and there wouldn't be a municipal tax.
Okay. Sorry, I'm thinking. Yep, okay, thank you.
Senator Colbeck.
Yeah, I just have one more for GOED.
Senator Colbeck, before you ask yours, I would just like to do a little follow-up on what Senator Perry was asking about the parameters, the 5 years, the 25%, et cetera, et cetera. But the basis that those decisions are made on are based on the benefit to the state and the community as to what level of rebate that they would receive. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The staff would assess the economic impact of each project, make a recommendation to the board, and then that board would have the flexibility to do more or less depending on the benefits of the project to the state.
Okay, thank you. You have the floor, Senator Cole.
That's similar to my question. In section 3, it says that you're going to set the minimum project cost. Is that for every project, or is that for across the board?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, the intent there, Senator Colbeck, is for the board to set the capital expenditure, basically figure across the board for any type of project. And then you'll actually see in the bill that that figure has to stay in place for 2 years. And then the board can change it, but it does have to stay for a couple of years so that it doesn't fluctuate wildly, based on, whims.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Senator Dybert.
Thank you. If you stay put. So in the contract, you could have a performance clause where they do this in 5 years and then they could extend or anything. I mean, they can be customized. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, yeah, the board would have the ability to customize some things just based on each project. Yep.
Any further questions from the committee? Senator Jensen.
Just a clarification. Maybe I missed it earlier. So they would pay the sales tax up front as they go, and then at the end of the contract period or performance period, they would get it rebated.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I want to make sure I'm being clear here. For the current reinvestment payment program, for projects that are over a $20 million threshold, that is how it works. They pay the sales tax in, but it's only a 3-year window with the existing RPP. And then at the end of their project, they would get refunded, basically. They would receive a reinvestment payment, and it could be 50% of their sales tax, it could be 75% of their sales tax. The board has that flexibility. This new track, because they're very large projects, it's a little bit different for those companies. We would track the sales tax that they are paying, that they would pay in, but they actually wouldn't pay it in. And then if they continue and do what they're supposed to do, then instead of receiving a refund and basically having the money go back and forth, it's just tracking it instead of having the money go back and forth.
Mr. Fiala, could I just clarify that? So basically, the merchant would provide their sales tax receipts, or their I forget what you call it, the documents that they provide to revenue, and it would just be noted on those documents that the sales tax was waived, but that would be noted and kept in
yes,
the database.
That's correct. They would submit all of the paperwork required, and then we've got documentation so that if they don't perform, we know what they would owe.
So returns is the term I was looking for. Thank you for that clarification. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, I think I'm tracking, but when you say that when they don't perform, what does that mean?
Mr. Chair? When we sit down with the project and they define what their project is, we take good notes. So as an example, let's take an example. Someone says they're going to build a manufacturing facility that's going to be this many square feet, and they're going to employ X number of people and pay this wage. And it just in our current program, let's take our current program. At the end of their 3 years, when they've built the facility and they say, yep, we're done, we go look. And is it X square feet? And did they employ so many people? And are they paying those wages? And if they are not doing those things, we have the ability to say, look, you didn't live up to your end of the bargain. And so this is no different for these very large projects.
Follow up? Yeah. What happens if the company's no longer in business? What happens if the company's gone out of state?
Mr. Chair? I mean, there's going to be regular reporting on these things. We're going to be in close contact with the company the whole time. And so, I can't predict the future on these things, but we're going to be right there. And if they don't live up to their bargain, the Secretary of Revenue has the ability to say that those sales taxes are owed.
Further questions? Seeing none, we'll close questions. I was just going to ask you to explain how it compares to the Menards 11%, but I'll let you off the hook on that one. We'll close questions and go to committee discussion and/or action. Senator Colbeck.
I'm going to do pass Senate Bill 239 as amended.
We have a do pass motion from Senator Colbeck. Is there a second? We have a second from Senator Perry. Discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I think there's lots and lots of hoops to jump through here, which I believe is good. I mean, if we're going to be giving out rebates, if we're going to be doing anything, and again, this applies to everybody, not just data centers. And then I would also keep in mind that, you know, if we're talking about smaller users, GOED also does South Dakota Works, which is a full suite of incentives on that too. That's also in a different bucket. So I like the fact the tracking saves on demand. I think they've laid out a pretty good bill here. I support it.
Further comments on the motion? Senator Perry.
My comment is very simple, and that is we are the state of opportunity. This is an opportunity. I think we're doing the right thing. I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we're being given the reassurance that we need from our Governor's Office of Economic Development, and I feel comfortable moving forward.
Senator Jensen.
I will resist the motion because this is the fifth bill. Like I said earlier, this is a shotgun approach to try and come up with some bill, some way, somehow that we can avoid paying a sales tax. This is the fifth bill, and this is a totally different approach. So I got to give them credit for their creativity, but this eliminates the sales tax still, and if they perform, they don't have to pay the sales. I absolutely cannot support that. Thank you.
Further comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll just comment. I'm going to support the motion. We've heard a lot of testimony today about benefits and concerns. One of the comments that struck me was that South Dakota has abundant and reliable power. And from that, we can derive wealth if we capitalize on it. But if we don't capitalize on it, what's happening is we're a net power exporter. We're sending power out of our state, and others are capitalizing on it, not us. This hopefully will help to facilitate an opportunity for us to capitalize it here in South Dakota, to bring property tax relief to our citizens and to bring sales tax into the state general fund so that we can provide services for our constituents. And at this time, I'd ask the Secretary to please call the roll. The motion is do pass on Senate Bill 239 as amended by Colbeck, seconded by Perry. Please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
Aye.
Jensen.
No.
Carr. No. Colbeck.
Yes.
Larson. Aye. Pischke. Aye. Voigt.
No.
Perry.
Aye.
Milhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 ayes, 3 nays.
Senate Bill 239 as amended has been received a majority of the votes, is hereby declared passed, and it will go to the floor with the do pass motion. At this time, we'll move on to our next order of business, which is Senate Bill 234.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Casey Crabtree, Senator from District 8. Mr. Chair, this is unconventional, but I think for the sake of efficiency, if you would like to rearrange and take up Senate Bill 235, it'll make 234 move much quicker, and we'll get you out of this room in a faster way.
No, I don't want to do that.
All right. It sounds fine with me.
Actually, we can change the agenda and do 235 first if This is like a time rebate.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as we walk through this, I think you guys will see how this will be a little more efficient the way we describe this. Senate Bill 235 goes back to what one of the opponents testified before on, which is some protections when it comes to data centers. A previous bill covers all kinds of development in South Dakota. This one is dialed in a little bit more on data centers, what that definition is, and what that looks like moving forward. This
Senator Crabtree, is there an amendment on this that you want to move?
There is, sir. I would love to move 235A to get into the details of that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move 235A.
We have a motion by Dybert to move 235A, second by Senator Larson. All in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries. You may talk about the amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the assistance on reminding that as I was reading through this. So I think a couple of things that are worth pointing out to the group is Section 1 talks about what a data center is as far as its size. This takes out some of your smaller things that I think have been misconstrued around here as far as what a university might have or a telecom might have. So that gives you a little bit different look there. I think the other pieces of this are really boiled down to the things that we are all concerned about. None of us want to see any electric costs from a data center pushed back on those who are electric consumers that are here today. This provides those protections in a more clear way than some of the other ones that you've seen. And then I think when you look at water, it talks about the notifications and those safeguards that we need going forward. And so I would encourage the bill to review, or the committee to review these closely, because I think this puts up those guardrails that others have talked about. I think we all agree that we want to make sure that that development is safe and that no unnecessary costs get pushed back on the hardworking folks of South Dakota. So with that, I'll stand by for questions.
Is there further proponent testimony on 235 as amended? Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mike Bockerney, CEO of the Economic Development Professionals, South Dakota. I'll keep this real short. We'll just me too everything that Senator Crabtree just said. We've talked a lot about protections. This bill is the protections bill, and it makes good sense. We fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on 235.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Phillips from Applied Digital. I speak in support of this bill. We spent much of the last year traveling all over the state of South Dakota and learning and hearing from many folks around the state. And this language is mostly as a direct result of those conversations. And I think it's great. As I've testified earlier, we're certainly not wanting to shift costs onto others. We pay our own costs for electricity, and we don't use much water. So this is a great bill, and I think it should give people a lot of comfort. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 235.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ryan Budmeyer, South Dakota Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We rise in support of Senate Bill 235. We believe it does provide protections and that are adequate and very similar to what we saw this morning, at which point we said we would support it without, I think it was Section 5 this morning. So we humbly ask you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Budmeyer. Further proponent testimony.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mitch Rave with the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. We support this bill and appreciate the prime sponsor bringing it forward and ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony, 235 as amended.
Mr. Chairman, Brett Kennecke from Custer, lawyer, registered lobbyist for the electric utility companies. You've heard me talk about allocating costs fairly, and I think the language you see in Section 2 of this bill as amended will do the trick. So I'm in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Further proponent testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve Delbianco with NetChoice. As we discussed this morning with regard to Senator Carr's legislation, the industry completely supports the notion that we pay our own way on electricity. That happens in conversations with every state public service commission and also with the White House, who's firmly embraced that principle. So absent the Section 5 of this morning's bill, this bill is very similar to what we discussed this morning, and my industry supports the safeguards that are in this legislation. And I do hope that you'll approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. You can tell my voice is not a lot better yet. I'm Darla Pullman Rogers. I represent South Dakota Rural Electric Association. I'm a registered lobbyist for those cooperatives. I would echo the comments of Mr. Kennecke. We concur that the language in Section 2 is satisfactory. It refers to reasonable costs associated with the provision of electricity to the data center, and we support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Further proponent testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Aaron Scheibe, registered lobbyist for Clean Grid Alliance. Me too.
Thank you, Mr. Scheibe. Is there any further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 235? Seeing none, I don't believe there's anyone online, so we will close proponent testimony. Is there opponent testimony on 235? I see one opponent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. My name is John Coonery, District 11, Sioux Falls. We just spent, considerable amount of time speaking on SB 239, and so now those that are going to get additional benefits from sales tax rebates or whatever the term is, are also now looking for additional. What I gather is avoiding paying certain taxes on the data center equipment. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that.
I think you are, but
okay.
You can make your statement, and we'll allow the folks to rebut what your thought. They'll explain it.
Okay, yeah. So it's been a long day, but the other thing is the more that we put up front and we put into these large infrastructure projects such as this, and to, I believe it was Senator Pischke's point, what if down the road here, after we as citizens of South Dakota have put in all of this money in one way or another, many times these are back behind LLCs, and those LLCs go out of business. Or the company that puts rockets up into the air, and they're putting data centers up there. They say they could put hundreds of thousands up there that put these terrestrial data centers out of business. And then how do we as South Dakota citizens recoup all of those funds that have been gone into these facilities? So,
okay. I don't think you're really speaking to the bill.
Okay. I apologize.
That's all right. Further opponent testimony in the room. Please turn on the mic.
Erin Taggart, District 2, Brandon, South Dakota. I oppose this Bill 235. Seems like there's two separate policy issues, consumer protection and tax policy, combined into one bill. And my concern is that including these tax exemptions in legislation, and they're framing them primarily as protecting the residents, makes it really hard to evaluate the fiscal impacts and policy trade-offs. And if these tax incentives are warranted, they should be debated transparently and on their own merits.
Ma'am, are you, I think you're testifying to the bill prior to its amendment. I think a lot of the tax language was removed in the amendment.
Oh, it's removed from here?
Yes.
So this is only the, oh, sorry, I'm not the paid lobbyist here. I'm just the concerned citizen. So this is actually my first time here to peer. Thank you.
Yeah, if it's not for staff, I wouldn't have caught it either.
Okay.
So, thank
All right.
you.
I oppose this bill.
All right, thank you. Is there any further opposition testimony in the room? Seeing none, I believe we have one person online. Michelle Afdal. Are you prepared to speak at this time?
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Oftebal. I'm from District 4. I live in Toronto, about 3 miles from a proposed data center. They completely changed this from what I was expecting to testify on. So I'm just going to say this is why citizens struggle to get involved, because we got on to testify with what we thought was what was proposed earlier and waited an hour and a half, and they rearranged the agenda and changed the bills. And so I'm just going to say me too to what the other opponents have said, and I'm going to wait to give my testimony on 234. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doftendahl. So at this time, we will close opponent testimony and we'll go to rebuttal. But I will just note that I believe that the amendment that was out there for quite a while. So it was available for review, even though it hadn't been moved.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Casey Crabtree, Senator from District 8, and I do appreciate those who came in opposition to make sure that they could be part of this process, and I know it is a confusing process when the amendments are made. I would just share that those amendments are part of the process because we have discussions on how we can improve these bills as they move forward, and so that was the efforts that are there. A couple things I'd point out. This is protections only. This is making sure that we do not have undue or costs being pushed onto our electric consumers that are here today. It also has water protections in there. So when we're talking about data centers, there's a way to do this with finding a balance. 41 other states have made different tax policy. They've been built other places, and we have clearly learned the good and the bad and the ugly from that. And what we've taken here is good, strong language from other states that have been doing it right and put it together in a way that would protect the folks of South Dakota. So I would just mention that. And I'd also talk to you a little bit. Everybody's got the concern when it comes to those electric costs, right? Because people are paying more for everything these days. And the last thing they want to pay more for is electric rates because of a data center. This makes sure that that doesn't happen. And I would just remind you that you just had the electric utilities and our rural electric co-ops who have powered this place since the day of windmills, the old-fashioned ones that brought water out of the ground. Those folks are standing here saying this is the way to protect folks. This is the way to move forward. This is the balance to find, which you rarely find them all singing in harmony there. And so I think that's a fantastic thing. With that, I'd stand by for questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Seeing none? Oh. You don't have to ask one if you don't want to. Nobody's going to drag you forward. Do you have a question, Senator Jensen?
Just a question for the sponsor, Senator Crabtree. And as you're coming up, I appreciate the language in here about the board monitoring the water usage. Are the protections available if they go way over the projected water use, and if the board ultimately says you're using a lot more water than what we originally intended, what would happen in that case? I guess is a simple question.
Mr. Chair. Well, good question. And what I would say is I think two things to that, Senator. I appreciate it. What I would say is, one, we have seen the technology change and advance rapidly when it comes to what data centers look like up here in our climate. And so we're seeing the demand for water being much less, and in the future we're probably going to see the demand for electricity being much less off these. And so right now we've got the protections in there with the water that I think gives adequate notification and that group to go ahead and make their decision locally whether or not that fits for them.
Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'll close questions and go to committee discussion and/or action. Senator Colbeck.
One discussion item. I can tell you what they did in Sioux Falls. They restricted the meter. So as far as water use, they can only get domestic water, which would be like fire, sprinklers, bathrooms, toilets. So that is one way that a water board could restrict. And then monitor to make sure they don't take more than what they are supposed to.
Only watering on even numbered days, maybe. Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll go to committee action.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Carr.
I move 41st day.
We have 41st day by Senator Carr, second by Senator Perry. Comments on the motion?
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it's hard not to like this bill. I guess it's a good thing we're not in the music industry, or I guess that's what they call sampling, because the language is very similar. So I like that. I like that part of it. But, you know, I talked about this morning. What's missing, I think, is addressing the concerns about the incentives, which I know the proponent didn't like and the supporters there. But that's where I'm at on that scale. And when it comes to a Bill of Rights for the citizens, there can be only one. So, thank you.
Seeing no further comments, Senator Colbeck.
Substitute motion, do pass. Senate Bill 235 is amended.
We have substitute motion, do pass.
Second.
Second by Dybert. Comments on the motion?
Yeah, I didn't vote for the, I mean, this is kind of where we're going, but I didn't vote for the one this morning because I thought that it didn't address a couple different things. And one is that in section 1, I like the larger load and then the fair, just, and reasonable on the costs associated with electricity. There are benefits that could come from a data center. So once we push all of that cost onto the data center, it is possible that transmission or other reliability issues could be fixed through that. So that would be spread amongst all of the customers, but that would be determined through a rate-making process. So I do like the electric part better, and then the rest of it, like I said before, I like protecting electricity, I like protecting the ratepayers, I like protecting the water, but I didn't like the incentives. And now that we have 239, I think that this is a good bill.
Yes. Go ahead. Thank you. You know, I like that this bill is specific to data centers. It has a higher megawatt. The bills we saw this morning, I was a little concerned about some of the other facilities we have in the state that might want to expand, and they'd be drawn into this conversation. So this one's more poignant, and I like it better.
Okay, so the substitute motion is do pass Senate Bill 235 as amended by Colbeck, second by Dybert. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
Aye.
Jensen.
No.
Carr.
No.
Colbeck.
Yes.
Larson. Pischke.
No.
Voigt.
No.
Perry.
No.
Melhoff.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 ayes, 5 nays.
Senate Bill 235, having failed to receive a majority of the vote, is hereby lost. So we go back to the original motion, which was 41st. No, that was. Yeah.
41st day. We already did do pass.
By Carr, second by Perry.
Okay. 41st day. There we go. It's getting late in the day, folks. So we have 41st day motion by Senator Carr, second by Perry. Any further comments? Secretary, please call the roll. This is 41st day, just to remind myself what I'm voting on.
Senator Dybert.
No.
Jensen.
Aye.
Carr. Aye. Colbeck.
Nope.
Larson. Pischke.
Aye.
Voigt.
Aye.
Perry.
Aye.
Melhoff.
No.
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 ayes, 4 nays.
So the 41st day motion on Senate Bill 235 as amended, having received a majority of the votes, is hereby lost. That brings us to Senate Bill 234. Welcome back, Senator Crabtree.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this will prove how this works for efficiency here. What you've got in front of you guys is the first bill that you voted on and the second one that you just voted on. So it's got the protections in place, and it's also got the RPP language that we discussed before in place. And so I think this group has talked about those thoroughly. And
Senator Crabtree, there's also an amendment on
yep,
this one.
let's go ahead and run that.
I would move
Senator
Bill
Dybert moves, Senator Perry seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The amendment passes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. As we're trying to be so efficient there. All right. So as amended, again, that is the combination of the two bills you just heard before, and it goes to the RPP, please, or the RPP enhancement that we talked about before, and the necessary avenue there to create good jobs. The second piece is the protections. Those are strong protections when it comes to saving our electric consumers, and when it comes to balancing and making sure that we've got proper notification and recourse when it comes to water. Now, I want to make one thing really, really clear as we wrap that up. There is nothing that steps into local control on this. Local control, siting and zoning, all of that stays as is. There's nothing that changes with that. There's just purely protections that exist with that. Obviously, we've got lots of discussions that are going to go forward, and I appreciate your consideration with this bill. Thanks.
Further discussion on 234 as amended. I mean, proponent testimony.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mike Bockerney, CEO of the Economic Development Professional Association of South Dakota. In the interest of time, we will simply me too everything that Senator Crabtree just said. We ask for your support. Thanks.
Further proponent testimony on Senate Bill 234.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Phillips from Applied Digital. Me too.
Further proponent testimony. This is really going along nicely.
Going quickly. Steve Del Bianco, Mr. Chairman, with Net Choice, and for reasons stated earlier, we would advise passing 234.
Thank you, sir. Further proponent testimony on 234 as amended. I don't see anybody else coming towards the mic. Is there anybody online? There is no one online, so we will close proponent testimony and go to opponent testimony on 234 as amended.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, committee members.
Welcome. Please identify yourself.
Yes, this is John Coonery from District 11, and I thank you for your attention, all of you, even those that I don't agree with. This has been heavy on my heart, and but what I see in this particular bill, what's wrapped up in it, I would say this is the mother of all tax giveaways to the richest globalist technocrats there are that really don't need this at the expense of the people of South Dakota. And you know those people, farmers, ranchers, carpenters, welders, people that are looking for their next job. I know many of those people because on Fridays I volunteer at the food giveaway at the fairground in Sioux Falls, and we give away from 1,000 to 1,500 boxes of food to people who need it. And so times are hard, and in these hard times, I don't believe that we should be giving away these tremendous gifts to these billionaires who have very well paid lobbyists and attorneys and so forth. And this really does nothing for the people, what I see. It gives full tax exemptions to virtually everything in those data centers that don't need tax exemptions, including any software, any GPUs that get regularly swapped out. And this is a very nice chart here, and I applaud the man for bringing this. I would like to have somebody who is willing to stand behind this and put up a bond for this total amount. And I apologize, sir, I don't mean to misuse this, but there's just been a tremendous amount of promises, but who will stand in the gap if those promises aren't kept? And those businesses are out of business when the sales tax and other things comes due. Before I do these things, I often pray. And this will be my closing. And this is not to say that anyone in this room is anything other than the most upright, who cares about your people, but maybe in a different way. And this is the word that came to me this morning. It's out of Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And with that, I just pray that we all walk humbly with our God. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttal. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have one person online. Michelle Oftendale. Are you prepared to testify at this time?
Yes. Good afternoon again. My name is Michelle Oftedal. I'm from District 4 and I live in Toronto. As I said before, about 3 miles from a proposed data center. I'm here in opposition of Senate Bill 234. The point of this bill is to encourage data centers to come to our state for economic development. One thing we need to discuss, though, is the unintended consequences of incentivizing these large projects. An important issue that gets overlooked is the effect it will have on the next generation of our young farmers. I'm a 5th-generation farmer and an owner of a recognized Quasquicentennial farm. My family has owned the original homestead land for more than 135 years. My daughter is 16 and she wants to become the 6th generation to farm. But with the rising land prices due to development investors, we're incredibly concerned that that won't happen. And that's the position of many of our younger generation are in. When projects like data centers show interest in a rural area, the land bankers and investment companies, they see an opportunity to buy up land cheap, knowing that they're going to be able to cash in on possible future expansion projects like power plants, substations, and transmission lines. Things that are needed to support such an incredibly high amount of energy production required. Land that's considered low cost to them is completely out of reach for our young farmers. And regardless of whether these big projects succeed or not, the farmers still lose because investors have already driven the price up, and it can take years for a readjustment to happen. Incentivizing data centers to build in rural South Dakota may have some benefits to communities, but I want you to think about, will that offset the damage that's going to be done to our future family farms and the young people that are hoping to run them? Legislators in Ohio recently voted to repeal their sales tax exemption, in part because they've lost over 500,000 acres of farmland to development in just the past 5 years alone. We should be looking at Ohio as a cautionary tale. We keep seeing bills like SB 234 and 235 and 239 and the dead HB 1005. They just keep coming. And I think it's shameful, honestly, that these groups are so desperate to get what they want that they're willing to confuse the people that are trying to be honest and testify about how it's going to affect them. So they insist that the companies need these tax exemptions or they won't come here. And I think we should listen to what they're really saying. They're saying we can't make it without these sales tax exemptions. So if their business model doesn't work without our state stepping in to prop them up, maybe they're not a business our state should be involved with quite yet. These bills are essentially bribing large-scale economic development like data centers to come here, while at the same time telling many young people that they don't matter because they won't start a billion-dollar business. This isn't simply a vote about data centers and sales tax exemptions. It truly is a statement about our values. Is South Dakota still first and foremost an agricultural state, or is large industrial economic development more important? What you decide here will send a strong message to the next generation of kids looking to decide if agriculture is a financially viable career here in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That ends our opponent testimony, so we will go to rebuttal at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the committee for the opportunity this afternoon to work through some of these things. A couple things that I just want to point out that were brought up here overall. One, we talked about what happens for maybe smaller projects, smaller opportunities. That's something that I work on a lot of the time in rural communities. There's plenty of programs that exist for those. Those are called South Dakota Works from the state level, and there's plenty that are offered at the community level. So I just want to make sure that we note that in South Dakota, we understand that small business is the backbone of things. I also want to talk about this. The first gentleman that came up and talked about folks that needed food. You know what all these opportunities bring? They bring jobs. So instead of having to be forced to go and stand in that line, which I'm thankful that groups are doing that to feed those who need it, it produces jobs that pay well. That's what we need. And that's what this does. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's really clear. I also want to say that there is no front-end giveaway. There's no front-end giveaway on all this. This is after these investments have been made. That's where you get that back. So there's routine checkups, there's routine check-ins, but I will tell you that's the money from the company that has been invested already. So that's already here. That's invested. That's not on the front end. No giveaway there. So I just want to make sure that those things are clear. You know, lastly, there's two things when it comes to agriculture. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, but I'll just tell you, I think the governor has already made a move here recently. There was a large press release about his investment back in making sure that we could get young farmers to farm here. So there's a commitment certainly from the state of South Dakota here, and I certainly commend the governor and their work on that side of things. And I'll also say, you know, when you look at what's happening just across the border, very similar place like Ellendale, we are not seeing the land change. I mean, these are actual land transactions that are happening around there, and we're not seeing young farmers or other farmers chased out because of that. We're not seeing that. Those are just the facts of what we're actually seeing with recorded transactions today. So with that, I'd stand by for questions.
Questions from the committee? No questions? We'll move to committee discussion and/or action.
Just a discussion. I think that, again, the process, we're working on an amendment bill, just so folks know that we're not voting on a blanket tax cut. This is the one that we passed before. So I just want folks to know that with GOED. So 239, and then it adds in water and electricity protection. So this is kind of a hybrid bill, but it is not the blanket tax. So that's all.
Senator Pischke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move Senate Bill 234 as amended to the 41st day.
Second.
A motion, Senator Pischke, second, Senator Jensen, 41st day. Comments on the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as we saw earlier, we already did pass Senate Bill 239, which is the language about the GOD, and we just had the Bill 235 about the water protections, which we've killed, and because we already have another bill that we passed earlier this morning for the water protections, and so I don't think that we really need this. I just want to make a few comments too, about some of the comments made during testimony. It's talking about standing in the gap, and we're making a lot of hard decisions up here, and we're going to continue discussing policies around data centers. This, just because something passes here today or doesn't pass here today, doesn't mean that discussion is over. I've made a lot of hard votes up here in my time, and I look out in this room, and I bet every one of these lobbyists here has been frustrated with me and is shaking their head at me and wondered, why does Pischke vote that way he does? And that's because I think about my people back home and the people across the state when I make a lot of my decisions. And so But when it comes to data centers and this discussion that we're having, data centers are coming, whether we like it or not. They might not come in South Dakota. Maybe we kill all data centers in South Dakota. Maybe that's something that this body does. But that doesn't mean they're not coming in North Dakota. That doesn't mean they're not coming in Iowa or Minnesota. So I just think that we need to have discussions about this and what we want to do, because this is not something we're going to stop nationwide. So for those reasons, I think we should kill the bill and continue with all these discussions for the next 3 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in agreement. However, I just want to make a couple points that I think everyone in the audience, especially Michelle, should hear. We have a balanced system. We actually have a committee process like this where we hear proponents, opponents, and then it goes to the Senate floor in this case, and we have people speak for the bill and against the bills and things like that. And then if it's successful there, then it goes to the House committee, similar to this. And then after that, then it goes to the House floor, and similar to the Senate floor. And then it goes to the governor. So there are many things that go on here. So it's not like we're just acting, randomly or out of impulse or anything like that. We've been talking about this for quite some time. And I told people before the session started that data processing or data centers are going to suck the air out of the room. And they really have taken a lot of effort for people to look at. But here's the one guy that was up here earlier, John, when he said he prayed today. We had 30-some representatives and senators and interns and things like that praying this morning at 7 o'clock in the largest conference room in the Capitol, in the great state of South Dakota. So we are doing some things right. We may not do everything that everybody wants, but we're going to do the best we can with what we have to work with. And that's all I had to say, sir.
Further comments on the motion? Senator Dybert.
Well, I just want to add to Senator Pischke's geography a little bit here. I live a little bit further west where we have Montana, Wyoming, and Nebraska where data centers are coming in.
Senator Jensen.
Thank you. I've said this before. Any new business that starts up today, they don't get the tax exemptions. And it doesn't matter how big they are. I mean, it could be, maybe it's the new Smithfield plant. Are they going to get exemptions? Probably not. But we're not, the thing I think we're losing track of here is we talk like this is one data center. This could be 12. It could be 20. It could be 30. Even at 20, when we take 20 times the amount of tax exemption and the number of jobs it creates, what I've looked at is, somebody in that 100 megawatt scale might have 100 to 150 employees. The 30 megawatt might only have 30. So I think we're giving away a lot of potential, not even knowing how much we're giving away, and that scares me. So anyway, thank you.
Well, I'm just going to follow. I'm going to resist the motion because I'm going to share some of what I've seen growing up. I grew up in Eureka in north central South Dakota, and every Saturday, farming supported that community like nothing. You had to actually look both ways before you crossed the street. The farmers would come to town, and they would support the 3 grocery stores we had, the 4 implements, several car dealers. But do you know what? Farming does not support our small communities anymore. Eureka is well under 1,000 people. It's approaching 700. There's not a lot of people there. Nobody's going to build a factory in Eureka because there isn't people to work there. The opportunities that small towns like Eureka have are things like this, data centers that maybe don't require hundreds of people to work there, but they add to the tax base. They help to keep the school open. They lower the property taxes. That's what we're incentivizing. We're not giving it away, like I said before. Billy Preston, nothing from nothing is nothing. If they don't come here, they're not getting anything, they're not giving anything, and nobody's getting anything. We're just going to continue on with our status quo. And I support farming. I wish it was easier to get into, but the reality of it is, if you drive into a farmyard today, you're going to see extremely large shops, several pieces of heavy, they're multi-million-dollar operations. You're going to see storage that would rival a unit track facility. Farmers are big operations now, and it's hard to get into it, and it's hard to make a buck at farming unless you're farming a lot of land. And you're not going to make a buck if you don't get the sales tax exemption for your farm fuel, feed, and fertilizer. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to make any money if you don't have your crop insurance subsidized by the taxpayers. That's the way it is. But we want that here. We support those policies, but I don't understand why there's no support for something else that could help our communities. And so I'm going to resist this motion. Please call the roll.
Senator Dybert.
No.
Jensen.
Aye.
Carr.
Aye.
Colbeck.
No.
Larson. Pischke. Voigt.
Aye.
Perry.
Aye.
Melhoff.
No.
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 ayes, 4 nays.
Senate Bill 234 having received a 41st day motion, and that motion having received a majority of the votes is hereby lost. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd entertain, yes.
Well, I just want to say, when you have a long day and you have lots of meetings for the same committee, lots of bills, you need a good director and somebody to run that, and you did a great job today. I just wanted you to know that. I think you directed it well. We still were able to ask questions and I think get the information we needed out of this. So just wanted to commend you.
Well, thank you for usually I only get commended when people are about to kill my bill. But I appreciate it.
I second that.
So I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Dybert, second by Larson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are.
When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.